Okay, guys, what's the number one request I get in my emails for a type of video, type of content? Well, at least recently. You're going to find out in this video because I'm going to go ahead and leapfrog all the other stuff I'm behind on to give you what you want. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so far behind in content. I just came back from Southern California and I realized I still have content from 2 visits to Southern California way back in, I think, February or March or earlier. I haven't released to you. And also today, a local guy came out to listen to these. Oh, by the way, these are no longer the hyper sales. I just had a Zoom with Popori. They're now going to be called Vitorla, which is Hungarian for sale. Really cool sounding name. So Vitorlas. A local guy who was looking to buy some speakers came by to hear these. And then I realized I went to his house not too long ago and I filmed a video, but I haven't released that yet. I've got so much content I haven't had a chance to release. However, I've been getting a lot of requests from emails for hearing the Vitorlas, as well as kind of doing the type of content that I did in the past where I played music clips, but I broke down the reference recording that I picked and what I was listening to. Because truth be told, there's very little value in and I don't find, I know there's lots of channels that just play music clips in their system over and over and over, and that can be fun, but there's not a whole lot of value to listening to a cell phone recording. Even decent mics don't pick up what it's like to be live in the room. And then you play it over YouTube, and this is the main thing that corrupts it. People listening with earbuds that don't give you full range and wide frequency responses, bad headphones, or even on their cell phone speakers. You're not getting a true appreciation that you can judge anything by just playing clips. So what I like to do, and I do this with show coverage, I always give you the music clips from hopefully the sweet spot if I can get it. But spoiler alert, the best way to enjoy my show coverage is to wait until after the songs are played when I'm talking to the people in the room. That's the kind of value you get, and sometimes I will give feedback on what I heard. And that's what I'm going to do today, is give you a reference recording like I did in the past. I did Jennifer Warren's And So It Goes in the past and broke it down at different parts. I stopped and told you what I'm listening for. This will give you much more value than just playing it, letting you listen to it on whatever you're listening to it, and then you knee-jerk run to your keyboard and say, that sounds great, or that sounds awful. I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing, what I listen for, and how my system has evolved in the past where it might not have been good in this area, or how I've heard it at shows poorly or great. I'm going to break down this in a much more detailed fashion, and I think that resonated with people when I did it before. So I'm going to do it again for you guys since there's been a lot of requests for that, and I'm picking a track that I've used as my reference in my reference playlist. And in fact, my reference playlist, maybe I'll put a link in the description or in the pinned comment, is on Tidal and Qobuz. And it's got hundreds of tracks because you can never use one track, okay? Don't make that mistake. But this track, as I break it down for you, is very good at determining and evaluating certain things. And that's what I'm going to do in this video. Stop it at certain points, tell you what I've heard, tell you when I've heard it sound great, when I've heard it sound not so great. And one thing it shares in common with the And So It Goes from Jennifer Warren's that I did in the past is that this is another track that if it sounds good, 100% of the time, I get goosebumps, no matter how many times I play it. At certain parts in the song, it's got that goosebump factor, and that is a subliminal thing you can't control. So when things sound right to your ears, to your taste, and the song is one that you like this one I'm going to play for you, I get goosebumps every single time. However, if I hear it at a show and the system is not calibrated properly, not set up right, or the quality of the gear is not the best, or the room, then I don't, and it's actually sometimes very annoying. So this is a track that has a wide delta of where it's listenable and enjoyable to the point of goosebumps, and also being unlistenable and poor. And so to me, this is better than doing Keith Don't Go's easy tracks or just gimmicky ones played at 110 dB to impress you in short bursts. This, I think, is a very valuable track that I think it was used a lot 10 years ago at the shows. I don't hear it as much anymore, so maybe, hopefully, this will bring it back a little bit. But in any case, enjoy my breakdown of this. Plus, I'm going to give you a bonus track this time. I am giving you a video from YouTube of a pop recording, compressed pop recording. Nothing audiophile about it. However, this is a track that I think is very instrumental in terms of bringing outsiders into the hobby. There's so many people that have heard this track in an elevator, overhead speakers at a restaurant, a club, their car stereo even, or even headphones, but they've probably never heard it on an audiophile system. And so many of us audiophiles get afraid of compressed pop recordings because it doesn't sound good on our systems. That's a fallacy, though. I learned that the hard way. That used to be the case with me, but every recording should sound better on your system with very minor exceptions, because these recording engineers aren't as bad as you think. There are differences in quality in recording engineers, but trust me, guys, a lot of times what you're hearing that's annoying about some pop recordings is that your system is adding to, exacerbating the weaknesses in the recording, and giving you, exposing lack of time alignment, poor frequency response, and your room, and extra reverb and imaging cues. It's actually your system in your room that's corrupting a lot of the recording. And so I want to play this one because I think if you play this on your system, it sounds good. It can take in a lot of non-audiophiles who have heard this song. It's a pop song. Lots of people like it. And they're going to all say, if you've got a good system, this is the best they've ever heard of this song, because it gives you a true full range, details they're never going to have heard before. And then on top of that, I'm giving you the video portion because, as I said in my presentation at DSS Audio in Southern Cal, one of my tenets of my channel, other than being a DSP proponent and and show coverage, trying to be an influencer for positive change there, my other tenet is to get people to appreciate video content with their system. And all these servers that don't offer video content, it's just crazy. Oh, by the way, I'll pop up a picture. I just built another server. I don't do this often, but I built one for Mike Sweck. You can call him and ask him how he likes it, but it's badass looking. So I'll pop up a picture of that, subject for another video. But the key is being able to enjoy video content and pop recordings on our system. It will not only let you use your system more, enjoy it more, but also almost anybody in your family, young people, this will help bring them in, because staring at the wall, listening to music is no longer, in today's world, what's attracting young people. You need to excite more senses than just your ears. Yes, there are going to be certain songs that give you the goosebumps, and you can do it for a while, but you need to have more of your senses stimulated nowadays. And so this video content is one example of that I hope you will enjoy and play for your friends. Hopefully it sounds good on your system, but you let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you back here soon. Okay, based on popular request, I'm breaking down another song, and also at the same time, another request is to hear more of the Popori speakers. And I picked this song in particular because it's not one that you hear as much at the shows, and is a little bit more difficult for certain systems that, in fact, I only remember it being even listenable at shows in one system. And that's why over 20 plus years of going to shows, really 30 years of going to shows, I only remember one system impressing me with this song. And it was a Lingdorf system. Had to be well over 10 years ago. Can't even remember. Well before I had a channel. And of course, Lingdorf has DSP. So, and it might have been TACT at the time. I can't recall exactly. No, I think it was Lingdorf. Anyway, right when they transitioned. In any case, it was one of the best versions, and that's why DSP started to make a difference to me, and realize, man, every other room playing this song, because it was more popular back then, sounded terrible compared to the Lingdorf. And it kind of got me on my start of embracing DSP and realizing the power. And of course, in a decade's time, there's so many improvements. But let me walk you through some of the differences I've heard with this song and why this song is really good as a reference because even though it's not recorded at the best, it's not going to be like a ketone go you can play on any system with any frequency response and it's still going to be listenable and, you know, even impressive, regardless of your frequency response, time alignment, all those things, because nobody knows what electric guitars are tuned like. And some of these tracks are just too easy on your system. And that's what aggravates me about these shows is they play the easy stuff and not tracks like this that will differentiate their systems from others. And let me walk you through what I listened for in this particular song, and maybe you can tell on your system, because I'm going to be honest with you, this song was not really that listenable even on my system until I started hearing it a decade or so ago on Lingdorf, started embracing what is possible that I thought was good at the time. No, it was much better than what I had in my own system. And then I started embracing DSP and whatnot. And now there's certain things that for sure you will not hear at most shows, especially in a hotel room in a non-calibrated system that's set up properly. So without further ado, let's just get started. I'm going to walk you through some parts like I've done in a prior video and stop and tell you what I'm listening for. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because actually after just those few seconds, there's two very important takeaways. Number one, the initial ha, the exhale that he does, that is actually a very telling cue that can tell you a lot about your system. Not going to tell you everything, but we are very familiar with exhales from humans. At least we know what it doesn't sound like. And as I mentioned in the video I did, the primary video, with the surround sound processor and walk through the Roger Waters DVD. As I showed in that video, if you didn't watch it, definitely watch it. At the end, I go through a track, and it was actually the real life sounds from that DVD, not the concert, that I focused in on the most, because when he pulls the cover off the car, that in different systems I've heard sounds so unnatural to how a cover being pulled off the car and how the air would move. It wouldn't have this super deep whoomph sound that it gets when you have tilted up bass. Similarly, when a human is exhaling, it will have a delicate sound that's natural, and definitely if you've got too much bass, it will sound unnatural with an oomph, or on the flip side, you don't have enough, it'll sound unnatural if you have frequency anomalies in the area that he's, quasi-playing through that exhale. And it's a reference that we're much more familiar with. So just that ha right off the bat, it should sound like a natural human. And also a mic picks that up pretty well. But to that end, I want you to listen to the rest of that part that I played as well as the rest of the song. I'm setting you up for it. That you notice a very long echo reverb immediately. And so that tells you one of several things. Number one, it's trying to mimic a live venue, but you can kind of tell it's not a live concert. There's no audience noise or anything. But they're trying to get that shadow effect to the music, and it's applied if you listen throughout the song, and I'll play some more for you in a second, where it both adds to his voice an echo and reverb as well as the instruments playing. And so it kind of tells you a lot about the recording style and mastering that can be advantageous in certain systems to tell you things, because number one, reverb and echo can be added either mechanically. They have these reverb plates. It could be just a huge venue with wood floors and high ceilings, and they mic'd it to pick up the natural echo. I think even Abbey Road Studios has an echo room, a reverb room, which is like all tile, and really, actually, it's pretty small, but it creates so many reflections, it gives you that reverb sound. Or they obviously have digital type reverb mastering tools to add it. And so I'm not sure which they did here. They've become so good at, especially the digital ones. However, they all add an element that's not the purest sound from the instrument or the voice.
And so the point I'm bringing up is that if your system and your room in particular, if your system has poor timing, poor impulse response, it's naturally going to have, lack of a better word, distortions in its own type of reverb. And then your room, if it's not treated well and adds too much reverb, you're going to be getting reverb on top of reverb. And early on in this song, adding some reverb and time alignment of your drivers isn't going to be that big a deal. It'll probably be listenable. But as you'll notice, whenever a singer goes close to the mic and then raises his voice, then it can overload the mic if you're also doing this reverb. And then if you're adding on top of that reverb from your own room plus misaligned drivers giving you kind of distortions, that's when it can sound hard and harsh. And some people knee-jerk blame the recording when it's actually just the recording. Yeah, it's doing some things, some special effects, but it's things in your room and your system that are making it unlistenable. It's not that these mastering engineers, as long as they have qualifications, there's a lot of people pretending to be recording engineers and they got no credits to their name at all. But, a guy that's working in a reputable studio has some credits to his name. They're not deaf, and what they hear, yeah, it may be a little bit hot and the special effect may not be the highest fidelity, but what they hear is better than what you're hearing on your system if you're adding time alignment issues with your drivers and extra reverb from your room, and that's what makes it harsh. So don't knee-jerk blame the recording. But I'll play a little bit more for you as we go along, and then the peak when it really gets to a point where I think most systems can either showcase or fail. Let me keep going here. Maybe fast forward here.
Hallelujah.
The key thing to pay attention to is that you clearly can tell the difference between his voice and the reverb, and it's not kind of mashed together in a hard electronic fashion. So let's keep going, because there's a good part a little bit further here that I use to discern stuff. So let's see.
Maybe there is a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. And it's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Okay, so here's a great litmus test. When he hits the high notes and actually raises the volume on so many systems, including my own in the past, I was like, it's ear hurts, it's too harsh. Now it is literally just goosebumps every time. It doesn't mean it's recorded perfectly. And like I said, when somebody raises their voice really close to a mic, it can get a little bit hot, but you can understand now what the recording engineer heard and lived with it, because they probably got goosebumps too and said, we're not touching this. And that's where my system changes. That in the past, things in my system were adding to the hardness, distortions, time alignment, things, room issues, extra reverb, things that weren't in the recording and making it sound worse. Now I can totally see why the recording engineer signed off on this, because if I don't get goosebumps on this, then I know that it's probably not what the recording engineer heard, and now I do, and that's kind of my litmus test. But also, after he hits that high note of hallelujah, he holds the loo for a long, long time. And as I talked about in the Jennifer Warren's video, that's a great chance to tell about frequency response, time alignment, all kinds of things in your system calibration-wise, because long notes, when you're doing quick notes either on a guitar, piano, singing, it's very hard to get that reference. But long notes, we know a little bit better and can concentrate on that. And usually that's the focus of the song at that point. You can focus on it. And if it sounds warbly, hard, these are things that evidence frequency response anomalies, timing issues with your drivers, room issues, and it doesn't sound pure and natural. And when he holds that note very long, it is so natural and pure and delicate, such that you just want to hear it over and over and over again. So this is one of those songs that if your system is one that you can't play it loud, you can't enjoy it, you can't get goosebumps, it's not 100% chance that you got things wrong with your system, but it's probably like 99%. This song, regardless of your system, quality will be a litmus test, because it's not the best recorded, but it's still going to be on a well-calibrated system. Then it should give you goosebumps, should show you at least an appreciation for what the recording engineer said, and not one of these ones where you should just blame the recording. In a lot of cases, what you should be looking for, blame your room, blame speakers that aren't set up properly, or blame speakers that aren't designed properly, not time aligned, making everything come to you at different times, alignments, kind of corrupting the imaging, corrupting and adding distortions that your ear does not like and doesn't sound natural. So hopefully you enjoyed this. I'll try to do a lot more in the future, but just wanted to get one of these out due to popular demand. Okay, I'm going to give you one value-added track too. I never pass up an opportunity. One of the main tenets of my channel, one of the goals I had, is to bring attention to great video content, whether it's DVD concerts or, in this case, YouTube, where I have my own playlist of great performances, as well as actually good recording quality. And this one isn't necessarily good recording quality. It's Imagine Dragons, a compressed pop song. But one of the things that this track will do is, if you bring people off the street that are used to hearing this song in overhead speakers and in elevators, in bars, restaurants, car audio, headphones, they're missing a lot of the bass and percussiveness of this band. And they will basically be hearing this track for the first time. So it's not so much for the same purposes of traditional audiophile reference recordings, but it's worth bringing out as a little value added to this video to show you video content you can play on your speakers, showcase this to other people that maybe aren't audiophiles, and they will hear stuff they probably have never heard before. There is a rumblingness to this, gives that thunder type vibe to it, and even some thunder and lightning special effects at the end. But the key thing here is giving people something other than staring at a blank wall while listening to music. Certainly it's great if you can listen to Jeff Buckley and get goosebumps just from listening, but a lot of content kind of needs to excite all your senses, and at least, well, other than taste, but this will give you some visual to accentuate your audio. And I guarantee you most people that have heard this song have never heard it on a really good audiophile system, and you may make some fans this way. And also for your own purposes, you'll hear it maybe for the first time. So let me play some of this for you.
thunder, take a number. I was lightning before the thunder.
Thunder, 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 thunder,
Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder. Thunder. Kids were laughing in my classes while I was scheming for the masses. Who do you think you are? Dreaming about being a big star. They say you're basic, they say you're easy. You're always riding in the backseat. Now I'm smiling from the stage while you were clapping in the nosebleed. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thunder, thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder.
I even got some ideas for Halloween from this video. Hope you enjoyed.